Welcome to the Highlights from Ukraine podcast, your daily audio summary of the latest news reported in the Ukrainian media. We would really appreciate if you could give us a 5-star rating and leave a glowing review in the app where you are listening to these podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and others. This way, more people will learn about our podcast. My name is Artem, and here is the news. For 210 days, Ukraine stands strong against the forces of the Russian invasion. Russian President Vladimir Putin declared partial mobilization in Russia, reports BBC News Ukraine. According to him, only citizens who are in the military reserve will be subject to conscription. Above all, it will be those who served in the armed forces, have certain military specialists and relevant experience. In his video address, Putin claimed that the Western countries want to weaken, divide, and destroy Russia, reports Hromadske. He also accused the Ukrainian authorities of refusing negotiations due to the alleged instructions of Western countries. The Russian president said that other countries are threatening Russia with nuclear weapons, but if there will be a threat to its territorial integrity, Moscow is ready to respond with nuclear weapons. Putin stated that he would support the quote-unquote decision of the residents of Donetsk, Lugansk, Zaporizhia and Kherson regions controlled by Russian forces to hold illegal quote-unquote referendums on joining Russia. Russian Defense Minister Sergey Shoigu announced that 300,000 reservists are planned to be mobilized into the army, reports BBC. He claimed that Ukraine had already lost half of its army in the war with Russia. According to him, there are about 61,000 dead and almost 50,000 wounded. At the same time, Shoigu added that Russia's losses in the war are about 6,000 soldiers and 90% of the wounded have already returned to the ranks. The Ukrainian side and independent experts have a different figure regarding Russia's losses since February 24th. The General Staff of Ukraine informed that as of September 21st, over 55,000 Russian soldiers died in Ukraine. President of Ukraine Volodymyr Zelensky said in an interview with the German media Bild that Putin wants to create a multimillion army because he sees his forces are taking a run in Ukraine, reports Interfax Ukraine. Zelensky stressed that Putin has already carried out a partial mobilization over the past months. The president believes that this decision shows that Russia has problems with officers and other military personnel. Zelensky said that even though he does not rule out a nuclear strike from Russia, he doesn't believe that it will happen, as the world will not allow Putin to use nuclear weapons. Ukraine and Russia conducted prisoner exchange, reports Ukrainska Pravda. 215 Ukrainian defenders, including 10 foreigners, were exchanged for 55 Russian military and pro-Russian politician and Putin's friend Viktor Medvedchuk, who was suspected in Ukraine of high treason. According to the head of the president's office, Andriy Yermak, among those who were released, many were taken captive in Mariupol. 108 are fighters of the famous Azov regiment. There are also state border guards, policemen, sailors, servicemen of the National Guard, territorial defense, customs officers, and civilians. In particular, Ukraine managed to exchange Denis Prokopenko, Sergey Volinsky, Sviatoslav Palamar, Denis Shlega, and Oleg Homenko, who were commanding the defense of Azovstal steel plant in Mariupol, the last Ukrainian stronghold in the city. They are now in Turkey under President Erdogan's personal guarantees of protection and safety. Several women fighters and medics were exchanged as well, among them known medics Katerina Polishuk, Mariana Mamonova, Yana Shumovetsky, and Anastasia Chernenka. Some of them were pregnant when captured. It was also possible to return 10 foreigners who defended Ukraine. Among them are those whom invaders illegally sentenced to death. They were delivered to Saudi Arabia. In his evening video address, President Volodymyr Zelensky said that this exchange is clearly a victory for Ukraine and all Ukrainians. Quote, "We remember all our people and try to save every Ukrainian. This is the meaning of Ukraine, our essence. This is what distinguishes us from the enemy. We value every life." Unquote. He disclosed that Medvedchuk was exchanged for 200 Ukrainian military and 55 Russian prisoners of war, exchanged for 5 military commanders from Mariupol. According to the agreement, they will remain in Turkey until the end of the war. Zelensky stressed that their families will be provided the opportunity to see them. The president also clarified that among liberated foreigners are 5 citizens of the UK, 2 citizens of the United States, 1 citizen of Morocco, 1 citizen of Sweden, and 1 citizen of Croatia. Zelensky stressed that the enemy sentenced them to a long prison term or the death penalty, but now they are safe thanks to the mediation of Saudi Arabia. The EU foreign ministers agreed to prepare a new sanctions package against Russia and to increase the supply of weapons to Ukraine, reports Ukrainska Pravda. It is expected that the new package of sanctions will target more significant sectors of the Russian economy and people responsible for the war of aggression in Ukraine. The EU ministers will hold their next official meeting in mid-October when the sanctions package could be formalized. We would really appreciate if you could support us on our Patreon. Even $5 a month will help us to continue our work and present to you the latest news from Ukraine. As a token of our gratitude for your support, you will get access to a series of exclusive episodes on Wartime Life in Ukraine. From this series, you will learn how ordinary Ukrainians live in times of invasion, what they eat, how they travel, celebrate, what music they listen to, and much more. To subscribe to our Patreon, follow the link in the description to this episode. Thank you. We call on you to demand from governments of your countries to impose the toughest sanctions possible on Russia and its citizens to stop their invasion of Ukraine.